You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Out of Bounds. You can catch every weekday afternoon from 1 to 4 on 103.7 The Buzz and 103.7thebuzz.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful Thursday or Friday, kind of depending on when you're looking at this or watching this or listening to it. Man, what a time. What a week, right? The amount of crazy things that have happened this week. It's almost hard to catch up with it. I've actually been off on vacation this week, and boy, did I pick the wrong time to do it. So we're doing a live stream here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, and we're going to treat it as a podcast where we'll talk about not only Bobby Petrino and his official return. We'll play some clips from his press conference that I attended here earlier today, and we'll also talk basketball because, man, was that wild yesterday. But let's start with Bobby Petrino. The last time that we met, the last time that we did this podcast together, Bobby Petrino was being waited on, vetted, and was being talked about as being a legitimate candidate for Arkansas. And since that point in time, not only has he officially become the offensive coordinator for Arkansas under Sam Pittman, he has also officially done a press conference. And man, a lot of stuff has transpired from that. And before we get into some of the clips and talking about some of the things Petrino had to say, if you haven't followed me on social media or anything like that, you kind of know that like I had just an infatuation with Bobby Petrino. I thought that this was a home run hire, that this was the best thing that Sam Pittman can do. And I think that just basing on off the fans and the fan reaction, especially at the Razorback basketball game last night, it certainly seemed like it was the right thing to do. And earlier today, Bobby Petrino was asked a question about what he wants to accomplish as the offensive coordinator. And he decided to kind of open up a little bit more and talk about what his goals are. So take a listen.
Any trepidation coming back here, and just what do you want to do? What do you want to get done here the next 2 years of your life?
I want to win. I want to see us. I came back here to support Coach Pittman in winning. I appreciate him a lot. When he did when he did send that message that Coach, this is Coach Pittman, I'd like to talk to you. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I was like, yeah, that's gonna happen, really? And then we talked for a short amount of time, and he said that he had an interest, and we set a time to talk where we both had time later on. And that was exciting. And I felt, hey, maybe this is really going to happen. Could it possibly happen? I talked to my family and saw if that could possibly work. And we had a great talk, great conversation. I think it was over an hour, maybe longer than that. And then when I got off the phone, I said, man, you didn't offer me the job. I was a little bit, surprised about that. I thought, man, maybe I need to do a better job interviewing again. So, but it was a process he was going through and taking his time. And I was just anxious to talk to him again.
I think it was great of what Petrino said there, and just talking about, winning games. Like, that's what it wants to come back to, is win. And I know that there's a lot of talk about Petrino and his return to Arkansas, and whether or not they can accomplish what they did, or at least try to replicate what they did back in 2010 and 2011. And I don't think that should be the expectation. It's not mine. And I don't think it's legitimately should be anybody's, because, folks, that's over 10 years ago. Now, the game of college football has changed so much, to where with transfer portal, with NIL, with the way that offenses are approached, and the competition that Arkansas will be going up against next year, it's a completely different thing. And so I don't think that it's as simple as, oh, well, Arkansas had 3,000-yard passers and a couple thousand-yard rushers back in 2010, 2011. Therefore, they're going to have it again next year. I don't think it's that simple. But what I do believe is that with Petrino being the guy now, he has an eye for offenses. He knows what it takes to win, not only in college football, but just particularly in the SEC. He's done it before. He has a Heisman Trophy winner under his belt in Lamar Jackson. And he also has a quarterback in Ryan Mallett, rest in peace, that was phenomenal. One of the better college quarterbacks of that era in all of college football. And you could not have two completely different opposite players individually at the quarterback position. So because of that fact is why I don't feel like, yes, it does matter who's going to be quarterback. It does matter on, who's going to do what and what the team and the roster is going to look like. But to me, that gives me confidence that it doesn't matter what type of quarterback it is, Bobby Petrino is going to find a way to make it successful. And it could be KJ Jefferson, which just to be honest, I don't feel like he probably comes back. I think he probably enters into the transfer portal. That's just a gut feeling. I have no proof of that or anything. It's just my opinion. I think that he goes into that. And, is it Criswell or is it somebody out of the portal? I think that they probably go into the portal and try to find somebody. And so, they're going to be able to win. They're going to be able to be successful. And because of the transfer portal and because of NIL, it makes it so much easier for Petrino to look into that portal and say, man, this quarterback with me, I can make that work. I can make this guy come in right away and be big time. And because of that fact, I think it really opens up some opportunities for Arkansas to change a lot of things. And it's interesting, too, because I think it was huge news with Luke Hasz pretty much announcing that he's going to be returning to Arkansas next season, the freshman tight end. Because people are always curious about, okay, what about these portal guys? Like, who's going to be leaving the University of Arkansas? I know, like, Jalen Braxton, one of the freshmen, he says he's coming back, which is great. But just talking about from the offensive perspective, Luke Hasz was the one that definitely has got to make you feel pretty good about getting him back next season. So, he's going to have some weapons with him. They're going to go and get some offensive linemen. I know that. But something else that even Sam Pittman talked about in his press conference today is they don't really know what the coaching staff's going to look like. I think Sam Pittman alluded to the fact that there is going to be some turnover. There is going to be some changes. We don't know specifically what. Could that mean that Petrino comes in and cleans it all out and brings in his own guys across the entire offensive board? Maybe. Does it mean that only a couple of guys stay on and then get some other guys? Maybe. Or does that mean they all stay on? Maybe. I don't know. But I would be hard pressed to think that the entire coaching staff stays on with Petrino just being inserted. I just think that there's too much that is going to change, and there's going to be too much overhaul of all of that. But it's just good to see somebody who, no matter what, no matter who the personnel is, like with Petrino, He's going to find a way to make it work. And another thing I thought was really interesting, we'll play a few clips here, but another thing I thought was really interesting of what Petrino was asked about was his anger towards Arkansas, because it's always been about, how Arkansas fans feel about Petrino, or how college football felt about Petrino. He let us down. He betrayed us. He did all this, that, and the other. Well, he was asked about that, and I think his response kind of shows you exactly how he feels about Arkansas and how there's really no anger towards this place.
Reading some of the quotes that have come out since you accepted the job, you talked about always wanting to come back and this being a dream. I'm just curious, was there ever a time since you left where maybe there was some anger towards this place? And when did that anger maybe turn into a desire to return?
No, there never was any anger at all. I was always a Hogs fan. I watched. People would ask me, "Are you going to watch the game? Are you going to watch them play?" And I watched as many games as I could. I cheered for them. I rooted for them. Love the players.
Man, boy, getting choked up. That's it. Kind of hits you because, listen, say what you want about Petrino. Say what you want about his past. Say what you want about his history. Say what you want about anything. But he is not a guy that is an actor. He's not known for that. He's not known for over-the-top personality, over-the-top, just trying to appeal to emotions for the sake of appealing to emotions. Like, this is a guy who's just as monotone and as straightforward as it is. We're doing a really good job of coming out here and playing really hard. And, we're just trying to get better each and every day. And we're trying to hope that, each and every day we get a little better. So we're going to go out there and execute. Like, that's it. Like, that's all. He just throws that out there. So for him to get choked up with emotions really resonates a lot further, at least with me, because I believe that there is some legitimacy to it. Because he's not just somebody that throws it around. He's not. Again, say what you want about him. He's not someone who just throws around all that stuff. He means it. There's a lot of seriousness to it. And I believe that, again, say what you want about him, but I feel like that's about as honest and as real as it gets. And talking about him returning to Arkansas. I think he feels like there's unfinished business here. I think he feels like from what happened in the past, this is his opportunity to make it right. The thing with Louisville that happened when the first time he left Louisville, and a lot of people were mad at him because of the flirtations with the Auburn job or flirtations when leaving to Atlanta and all that stuff. There was a lot of animosity there, but I feel like he probably felt like he came back and redeemed himself. And I think this is his opportunity in his mind to come back and redeem himself at Arkansas. And I mean, I'm all in. I'm all in on Bobby Petrino. I'm all in on this offense. And as much as I could sit here and say, well, what about this player coming back? This player coming back? I'm at the point, and maybe this is the wrong way to look at it, and a lot of you may disagree, but I'm at the point to where I'm like, I don't care about who comes back and who doesn't. I'm trusting Sam Pittman, and I am trusting Bobby Petrino, especially. I believe that he's got a proven record to where he's going to bring in guys that he needs to bring in, wants to bring in, that will be really good for him. And so I'm giving him that benefit. I'm giving him that benefit of that doubt. Like I'm going to. And so if he feels like it's better without KJ being the quarterback, then I'm going to be all in. I'll be like, okay. If he believes that, there's other people besides like a Rocket Sanders or whoever, and maybe Rocket Sanders then leaves on their own. Maybe it's not a thing about Petrino. It's just I'm going to trust in what Petrino looks at and what this offense is going to look like next year regardless. I just don't like looking at it as just so succinctly as, all right, well, get this guy back, but then add this guy and add this guy. Let's just see how the pieces fall in place. Let's just see how it all plays out. And when it plays out in a certain way, that's when we'll have an idea of exactly how good this is going to be. But if you couldn't tell before, hopefully you can tell now. I'm all in on Bobby Petrino. And I think that this is going to be something that potentially could go really well and a lot better than what it did at Texas A&M last year for Bobby Petrino, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But folks, I got to tell you about passion, drive, patience. That's what brings home the winning trophy. And it's also what brings home your ride or die alive and keeps it alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers to roof racks to exhaust kits to LED headlights and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. So with all the parts that you need, with all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so continuing on with the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, which I know, again, a lot of you are commenting on this, and we will get to that probably towards the end. So we'll make that happen. I just want to knock some of these things out and get to my thoughts on it. So another thing about the Bobby Petrino saga and him officially coming back to Arkansas was interesting, because I'm glad that this question was asked. When talking about, Petrino, when he was been at Missouri State, we saw him 2 years ago, or I guess last football season, him coming to Fayetteville and put up some numbers, and it looked really good. Seeing those slants and those wheel routes and the cowboy go get 'em play and everything really made us nostalgic. And I think that was impressive to a lot of people here in Arkansas, and especially Sam Pittman, which is why he wanted to bring him on board originally. But then he goes to Texas A&M, and people start feeling a certain way. They lost Connor Wegman early in the year. Their better quarterback had to go with Max Johnson. So people are like, "Oh, is the offense really that good? How good was it?" If you look at the numbers and everything, Texas A&M's offense was actually statistically pretty solid, especially ranking in the SEC. But Bobby Petrino was asked about, Texas A&M and some of the stuff that went on there. But I thought it was really interesting of when he went into more detail as to maybe why it didn't go according to plan, or why it didn't work out the way that he wanted it to, or at least how it didn't end the way that he wanted to. Take a listen.
Your offense with A&M last year, was that, how much of it was you? And then you got to see Arkansas in Arlington. What'd you think of what was going on and the personnel Arkansas has?
Yeah, that's a loaded question there. But, that when I took the job at A&M, Jimbo wanted to keep the same terminology and call things the same way they did. It was hard. It was hard on me. I was staying up all night. I can remember the first scrimmage. I was up at 2 a.m. in the morning, woke up at 2 a.m. in the morning to get ready to call plays for the first scrimmage, just understanding what the terminology was, what the formation was. And it was it was not only calling the plays different, but the formations, the way they called the formation is probably different than anybody else that I've ever been around. Normally you call the strength where your tight end is going to align. And there it's where your slot receiver is going to align. So just getting the connection to be able to do that was very difficult. But I worked hard at it, and I thought we had a pretty good year. We went through a couple of quarterbacks, which was hard. But I really enjoyed it. I think that's the one thing that when that happened, when Jimbo lost his job, that I thought I want to still coach. Just because how much I enjoyed being in the classroom with the quarterbacks, spending time with the offense, just coaching football, teaching. It was fun being back in the meeting room and teaching. I started getting in this profession as a teacher, so it was really fun to get back and do that.
So really interesting to me hearing from Petrino talking about his time at Texas A&M, because I don't think he was saying it in an insulting way of saying like, "Oh, they didn't let me do this or that." I think there was a brutal honesty to it, where he was kind of approaching it as, "Listen, when I came in, I was happy to do it and I was enjoying it, but they wanted me to keep the same terminology as what they've been doing all the time that Jimbo's been there." And some of you may hear that and be like, "Oh, well, so they were handcuffing Petrino." And maybe I'm giving the benefit too much to Jimbo Fisher, but I kind of see his point of saying, "Hey, listen, like this is something we've been doing. We've kept all the same players from the year before. Let's just try to make it as simplistic as possible, where instead of teaching an entire team new terminology, let's just have you, Petrino, learn the new terminology, and we'll make it easier on ourselves." I think in theory, that's probably what Jimbo Fisher was looking to do. However, if you're Petrino, and it's like, you kind of went into some specific examples, it's like, he's like, "No, this is how I know it. And I'm having to relearn the way I do it. And then when you're Petrino, it's like suddenly you're not maybe as confident because you're like, this isn't the terminology I've been using the whole time. This isn't the formations that, I look at and I use. And that was probably pretty difficult for Petrino to deal with and to overcome and to adjust to. And so for those of you who may be looking at it as like, oh, well, at Texas A&M, it didn't, how can he come to Arkansas with less 5-star talent and the offense be better than what he was able to do at Texas A&M? I think that was a prime example of why it could be better than maybe what we anticipate, because knowing Sam Pittman and kind of how he's approaching it, and I think this is another reason why Petrino is really excited to be here. Pittman is saying, hey, here's the keys. Just drive it. I'll ride shotgun. I'll follow your lead. Just drive. He's going to have Petrino do the terminology that he wants to do and wants to say. He's going to have them, figure it out as far as the staffing goes. He's going to have him figure it out as far as the personnel goes. He is handing it over to Petrino and saying, go do offense, make us score points. And he's stepping back. That to me is exactly why Razorback fans should overall be excited about the possibility and the potential of what Bobby Petrino could do, is because he's going to be in full control. He's not going to have to rely on somebody else or have to be, oh, you got to change how you're doing it. No, it's like, I think even Sam Pittman, he didn't say this specifically, but when he was asked about Petrino, he's like, man, it's Bobby Petrino, man. An established, an iconic, and a very legendary offensive mind in college football. It's almost to say as if it's Bobby Petrino. I'm not trying to change anything that he's doing. I'm not trying to make his life more difficult. I'm not trying to change who he is. I'm just wanting him to coach the offense. That's all I'm wanting. I'm just wanting him to do that, and we can call it good. So I think that's why the potential is there for this to really work here at Arkansas. It may not be perfect at times. It may not be, again, the offense that we saw in 2010, 2011. But when you give someone like Bobby Petrino full reign, and also since he's already the offensive coordinator so early in the process, for him to go into the portal and find guys that he wants and that he would know that would add something to the team immediately, and identifying and evaluating that talent, I think that this is really where not only could we see an entire new offensive staff next year for the most part, but folks, there's a chance that we could see an entirely new offense, like personnel roster wise. Not to say they're just getting rid of everybody, because I don't think they'll do that. But when it comes to quarterback, when it comes to some running backs, when it comes to wide receivers, you could see a whole new animal there. And then even at the offensive line position, are they going to keep some guys from last year? They might. But I know that they're going to go into the portal hot and heavy and try to bring those guys in. And I think they even had the top JUCO tight end just commit today. I didn't get his name, but you're saying that, like, you're looking at it to where potentially the offense could be a completely different animal, looking completely different from what we saw this past year as far as personnel goes. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, it could be the best of things. It could actually really work out. But I enjoy where it's at. I like where it's at. I seeing Petrino in Razorback red once again gives me all the warms and fuzzies. And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody's doing. If you're a Razorback fan, you have to be at least more confident and more inspired and more encouraged about next season than what you were just a few days ago. I don't see how you can't. We'll talk about Razorback basketball and also get to your comments here in just a second. But folks, I got to tell you about PrizePicks. It's the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America, and they're the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers, and instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you just pick more and less. More or less. That's all you do. On 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll in. And they got a lot of different things to choose from when it comes from basketball season to football season. You can combine the two, and from the specials leagues where you can do combo projections with guys like LeBron James and Travis Kelce. If you feel like they're going to combo things together, you can bet on that and to be able to make some money there too. And they also offer the reboot policy that not many people do in case a player gets hurt. But it's really simple to play PrizePicks. Yeah, I can make my picks and submit my entries in less than 60 seconds. It's that easy with quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous section of players and stat types. It's what makes it number one when it comes to the daily fantasy sports app. So check them out today. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use promo code lockedoncollege, and you will get your first deposit match up to $100. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Use promo code lockedoncollege for a first deposit match up to $100. It's PrizePicks, the daily fantasy sports made easy.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so a final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, and we will get to your comments on the live stream, and we'll also talk a little bit about Petrino too, again with you. But I got to bring up basketball last night. Arkansas and Duke. Arkansas gets the victory, beating the Duke Blue Devils by a final score of 80-75. And what an atmosphere. What a performance. What a time. It was so much fun to be there. And I know a lot of you went to the game, and those of you who didn't, you watched the game. And Arkansas just put on a performance like no other. I know there's not saying it was perfect, but folks, they didn't have Tremont Mark, who's been arguably their best player, most consistent player this year. They were without him. And they were still able to not only win the game, but be in control essentially the entire second half of the game. I know that Duke made a run there at the end, but Arkansas ended up being up as much as 14 points in this game. And they had it all going for them. And it was just one of the best atmospheres you'll ever see. Trevin Brazil, this just shows what he can do, man. 19 points, 11 rebounds, 6 of 9 from the field, 4 of 7 from three-point land, played 38 minutes, only had 2 turnovers and 2 blocked shots. How about Chandler Lawson? Get this stat line. 7 points, 6 blocked shots, and 8 rebounds. Outstanding performance out of him. You even had Caleb Battle. It led the scores with 21 points. Wasn't as efficient, going 5 of 13 from the field, but still got 5 rebounds and 5 assists, only 2 turnovers for him. And Leighton Blocker, I know as a true freshman, had some struggles, but he was really good too. He did have 4 turnovers, but was able to get 9 points and made some clutch baskets and some clutch defensive plays there as well. But Arkansas was just able to get it going. Filipowski got his. He got 26 points and 10 rebounds. Roach also had 22 points. He was really good for Duke. But besides that, nobody else ever really did anything for the Blue Devils. I mean, it was just great defensive effort by Arkansas. Arkansas shot 49% from the field, shot 40.1%, about 41% from three-point land, and then ended up hitting 19 of 30 from the free throw line. But another big thing, too, is Arkansas's turnovers. They did turn the ball over 12 times. But again, I think like 4 of those turnovers right at the end of the game. So Duke only had 8 turnovers. But Arkansas had 17 assists to 10 assists for Duke. So that was a big difference in this game. Arkansas out-rebounded Duke by 6, which was huge. And also, even though like second chance points, Duke had a lot of 14 points to 5 points for Arkansas, and Duke had more transition fast break points, 24-11. But again, Arkansas just found a way to win. The court got rushed. It was an awesome atmosphere for those of you who were there, and it couldn't ask for anything better. It's a record crowd in front of Bud Walton Arena. It was the biggest crowd ever. It was loud, and I'll say this, and we'll get to all your comments. I've been going to games a long time in Razorback history and at Bud Walton Arena. I've been to all of the games that have been like the most loud, iconic games for the most part. I was at the 99 Auburn game. I was at the Qualls putback dunk game against Kentucky. I was at the Kentucky game back in 2020 when Calipari got ejected. I was at the Auburn game from 2 seasons ago. I was at this game. The only game that I don't think I wasn't there, but even then it wasn't like as iconic was I guess like the 95 game against Kentucky when Thurman hit that big shot. But when it comes to like loudness, like everyone's asking me, like, is that the loudest you ever heard it? I'm like, there's no way of really being able to measure that legitimately. Like everyone's going to have their opinion. But when it came to a build up to the game, I'd be hard pressed to find another like game that was that crazy when it just came to the atmosphere, came to the build up, came to the overall vibe of everything. And I talked to my buddy Aaron Torres of Fox Sports Radio. He was in Bud Walton for the first time ever. Matt Norlander, I believe covers for CBS Sports. It was his first time ever at Bud Walton Arena. Jay Billis was calling the game. And I know he's called a game at Arkansas before. I think last year he called the Bama game, but that was not near that because Arkansas had been banged up and hurt and they weren't as good. But all of them at some point in time in the broadcast or at some point in time said it's the loudest college basketball venue they've ever been to. It's the loudest venue they've never even heard. And I can tell you this, I was there and standing on the court, and when I heard or when I saw the block by Trevin Brazil that led to the Layden Blocker layup and had Duke call timeout, it was one of those things to where I almost had to plug up my ears. I couldn't do it. And I saw some Duke fans. My brother actually told me there was a Duke fan that he was kind of sitting close to, and he said during the game, the Duke fan was doing this the entire time. And then you hear John Shire, the head coach of Duke, after the game saying, hey, it doesn't matter if you have experience or not, but this atmosphere was just something different. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in, and you should. I mean, it's almost like I maybe take a little bit it for granted because I grew up in Bud Walton Arena. Like, that's the only arena I know. I mean, I didn't go to Barnhill games. I wasn't old enough, I'll admit. But all I know is Bud Walton Arena. And I know it's loud. I know it's awesome. I know it's crazy. But to hear national people talk about it the way that they do is just, it's so cool. Like hearing people outside the state say those things. I mean, there were even Auburn fans quote tweeting my video. Like Peter Burns quote tweeted my video of the Hall call right before the game. And was just saying, man, Bud Walton. And I ain't even had Auburn fans that were talking about like all of those things. People say I need a toothpick, by the way. I'm got a cough drop. I'm just trying to keep from coughing. But even though it's like I watched and saw, and it's just something I can, again, never take for granted. It's an atmosphere like no other. And I was talking to Muss after the game on the court for a little bit. And he also, I don't think he'll mind me sharing this because I don't think it's anything that big of a deal. But he came up to me and Aaron Torres, who were standing there. And he goes up to, he calls him AT. And he's like, AT, what'd you think of that? All that. And, he's just like, oh, I've never experienced that before. And Muss said something. And again, I don't know if it's verbatim, but I'm trying to remember. But basically he was saying, he's like, I had people that were debating on whether or not to come up to this game from Dallas. And I told them, you have to come to this game because it's going to be an experience you've never experienced before. You just don't understand. And he said that they came up there and they agreed. They're like, I've never experienced anything like this before. And Muss even said in his coaching tenure, he's never experienced anything like Bud Walton Arena. And when I hear that and I see it myself, I'm like, this is truly a special place in Bud Walton Arena because it's not just loud. There's passion. The noise in Bud Walton Arena has a feeling to it. It's not just something that kill your eardrums. It's something that commits assault against you if you are the opposing team or the opposing player. Like, people there want to destroy you if you are trying to come into their house and beat them. And it's something you just can't experience unless you actually check it out. 20,000 people in that tiny arena. I mean, because it's tiny compared to, like, Aaron Torres told me, he's like, I thought that was an arena. When I first looked at it, I was like, looked like it was, only sat 13,000 people because of the way it looks. But then you see how close the seats are, how on top of everybody is. It's awesome. It gives you goosebumps talking about it. So kudos to the fans. Kudos to everybody that was there last night. And what a big win, a great win, and perfect for them to come back out there and get the victory and to bounce back after going 1-2 in the Bahamas. And so I can't wait to see what the rest of the way plays. And I was like, I made the joke. I was like, man, Bobby Petrino may have been worth 5 points last night because people were so fired up over the Petrino hire. I think that was a big part of it too. So what a game. What an absolute game. Absolute game. All right. So there's the podcast. So let's get into some of your comments, folks. I'll try to get to a lot of them. If you asked a question earlier, I didn't see it. So go ahead and throw it in there and we'll try to get to some of your comments as much as possible here and have some fun with that. And, talk about some of the stuff that you guys may have or some of the comments you may want. Let's see. Daddy Shark says, did you hear Bobby say that his agent reached out initially, or did you hear that wrong? No, he did say that. In the press conference, he said that his agent reached out to Sam Pittman, I guess, initially when he saw an opening, and Petrino wasn't even aware. But I also think that's part of it of Petrino wanting to come back. His agent knew that he wanted to come back. So I think she probably was like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and reach out because I know I know this is a place he wants to go. I know this is a place he wants to be at. So My dog, I feel like sometimes is always going to throw up, so I had to be weird on that. So let's see. Leslie says, I will say at the loudest I've ever heard a Razorback game ever, and I've been to plenty of basketball games. Again, I don't know what I don't know like the volume and everything. Like, how do you judge that? You know, I think it's all just subjective. But I will say that if someone told me last night was the loudest they've ever heard Bud Walton Arena, I'm not going to argue with them because it was loud. It was loud. Again, it's like when sound had feeling, is like I like to put it. When sound had feeling, gave you goosebumps, man. I enjoyed the crap out of the game too. Let's see. Merck says, would you like to see the mallets back on the helmets? Yeah, I love I think they're axes. I don't know if they're maybe hatchets or maybe they're mallets. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool, like a double entendre with Ryan Mallett and the mallets, something like that. It could work. My bad adventure says, can we get a Locked On Razorbacks Discord? You know, I've thought about that. It might be something I start. Be on the lookout for that, though. We'll check that out. Do Crutchfield recommit? I mean, I don't know. I know they're going to be recruiting him. I know the Bobby's going to be recruiting him too, big time. So, no, I don't know if he for sure does or not, but I think it'd be interesting to see. I'd give him a shot. Got my wife ordering me a BMFP shirt now. Going to be a new Lucky Game Day shirt and should retire the old one after the past season. Yeah. Oh, yeah. A lot of people are going to be making short work of the BMFP shirts and trying to have those. Do you think if we drop a few bad games next year, Arkansas will let Sam go and promote Bobby? You know, I don't, this is nothing against you. It's just like, I don't want to entertain that because I feel bad for Sam Pittman in a way of like everyone's giving credit and praising Petrino becoming back, which rightfully so. I am too. But like, I don't think that's fair to Pittman because I think Pittman making the decision to hire Petrino and letting him do it, I don't think it'll be a few bad games. I truly believe that Petrino is exactly what Arkansas needs to get them to right the ship. But we got to see what this offense looks like first. And we got to see like how they're losing. Are they losing because they're getting blown out? Are they losing because of bad decision making? Like, not all losses are created equal. Kinley says, what do you think about Arkansas and Furman playing Monday? What do they need to improve on more? Closing out games for sure. I would like to see that. And also not giving up as many offensive rebounds. They got to work on that. Too many second chance points for Duke in that game. Again, great team, so you can't take anything away from. But yeah, I think that's the case. Sarah says, "Is it true that Travis Williams played for Bobby at the Falcons? If so, awkward." Yeah, apparently so. Apparently he did. It's like, ooh, how do you think that conversation is? What's up? So, remember me? Yeah, I remember you. You were a player at the Falcons, right? Yep. I remember you. All right. Cool. Friends. It's probably not how the conversation is going to go, but I kind of wish it would. David says, how did the Petrino hiring process work exactly, and who actually hired him? Was it Sam Pittman or Hunter Yurchek? From what it sounds like is that it was Sam Pittman, and Yurchek is the one that gave him the go-ahead. And what it sounded like, too, is that this was always something that Petrino wanted to do. I think Pittman always wanted it in his back pocket, but he had to make sure that they had to get the approval of the board, had to get the approval of Yurchek because we know about the history in the past. And so my guess is like Sam Pittman, and again, give Sam Pittman credit for this. I've been hard on Sam Pittman. I know a lot of you have been too. I will give 110% credit to Sam Pittman. He did what he understood. He's like, I got to get somebody that's going to get the fan base back in and a guy that's really good offensively. And you could not have gotten a guy that got the fan base more in than getting Bobby Petrino to come back. So kudos to Sam Pittman. He deserves all the credit for doing that. Casey says, what do you think they'll do with the offensive line? It was trash. I mean, that's a question. I know they're going to go in the portal. They already got a JUCO guy coming in. They're going to go to the portal, get some of those guys. Also depends on, is Cody Kennedy going to remain as coach? I don't know. Maybe. But that's what we're going to find out here in the next few days because they're not going to mess around. They're not going to mess around. Aaron says, are you excited that Sam said Bobby is going to have full control of the offense? Yeah, that's why I think it's going to work. It's because he's given him full control of everything, and I think that's important. Kings on YouTube said, louder than Qualls' dunk. I see, that's the thing is those moments, it's hard, man. Like Qualls' dunk was obviously insane, but when Calipari got ejected, I think Calipari getting ejected is the loudest in one moment in Bud Walton history. I believe so. And I was at both. But again, it's like, how do you know for sure? I don't think that there's a right answer for that one. Let's see. Brennan says, I've seen Bobby emotional and seeing him bringing up fifth number or 15. Yeah, 1-5. Do you think there's a deep connection with him? And do you think that Bobby has emotional unfinished business? And I mean, he's taking this to heart. Yeah, no, I do. I feel like Bobby Petrino being emotional the way he was, he wants this. He wants this to work. And I believe he's going to put in the work to make it happen. I have no reason to say otherwise or believe otherwise. I think Petrino's all in. Petrino wants to get it done. And I think Sam Pittman's going to allow him to have the tools to get it done. That's going to be big. Nima says, what happens when it's 4th and 1 at the opposing 40 and Sam wants to punt? How long until Bobby chokes out Sam? Well, again, I know that Sam Pittman's going to have the ultimate decision, but I think at the end of the day, he's going to go with Bobby's opinion on these things more so than anything. I believe so. Let's see. Seth says, Sam Pittman and Bobby Petrino's love for the Arkansas Razorbacks is great to see. I think they could both balance each other out well in the field and potentially have a lot of great moments. I agree. They both do love Arkansas. You can say that they do have that in common. They both love the Razorbacks, man. And again, that's got to get you a little bit pumped up and excited. Daniel says, Bobby P has unfinished business. I bet he walked into that brand new football facility and said to himself, he definitely wants to help this program win again. Yeah, it's so ironic with that thing because that practice facility that Arkansas has, that's so nice. Like that was being built because of Bobby. And like the coach's offices in that place was like kind of hidden because Bobby wanted to be away from everybody, but he never even got to use it or enjoy it. And now that he's back in it, it's pretty funny. It's like it was all built for him. And he never got to use it, but now he's officially getting to use it once again. Leslie says Singleton is the next quarterback at Arkansas next season. I really like Singleton, but I don't know. I mean, he's a true freshman this past year. We didn't even see him play this year. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the guy or not. Bethesda Baptist Church says now Arkansas will have an offensive identity. Yeah, they will. I think it'll be good no matter what it is. Let's see. Aaron says, have you heard anything about KJ? No, I haven't heard anything specific. Again, my gut feeling is he's gone. That's just my gut feeling. I don't know. Maybe he goes to South Carolina. Maybe he goes somewhere else. But again, and I have nothing like sources or anything like that. I'm just giving you my gut feeling. I think he's gone. I think that's okay too. It's okay for him and it's okay for Arkansas. I think it could be a good thing for both. Nick says, do you see Bobby in a coordinator spot as a sort of way to get the best of Bobby, but screening him from the negatives? I mean, yeah, but also the negatives, like, since that thing happened at Arkansas, he hasn't had any negatives. He's a coach at Western Kentucky, and even at Louisville, there was nothing off the field or anything like that. He just started losing. And I think a lot of that, and I'm not making excuses, but I think a lot of that was he having to deal with the loss of his dad. Because if I'm not mistaken, I believe his dad passed away in that season where it really went downhill. So I don't think we have to worry about Bobby anymore. I really don't. Let's see. David says, can they practice any during the offseason other than spring practice? No, spring practice is the only thing you can do. From my understanding, at least. I mean, there's some workouts and stuff. But overall, I think it's going to be just, I think it's just going to be some workouts and whatnot. Yeah, spring practice, man. You talk about a spring game, they have a lot of people there. It's definitely going to be that one. That's for sure. Let's see. Mr. Bloodline says, will Bobby get more interviews? We all want more Bobby media from the staff. I don't know. I know that I am reaching out to see if I can get Bobby on my podcast. I sincerely doubt I do. I think I get told a big fat no, but I'm going to try. Be nice. I have a bunch of questions I'd like to ask him. And it's not even anything about like the past necessarily, but it's just like, I want to pick his brain. I've always wanted to, because even when I got into radio, it was about when Petrino got fired. So I've never interviewed him, but I would just love to have like 10 minutes. I just want to pick his brain about his mind, about his offense and like what he sees, why is he so much better than everybody else offensively? And I don't know if he'd do that and open up that way to me or anything, but I don't want to talk about off the field anything like, or oh, how excited are you to be back at Arkansas? It's like, no, I want to ask, like, what is it that you do? Why is it that you're so good and better than everybody else? All right. Let's see. A lot of Bobby jokes being made. Except says, I'm almost upset you didn't come on the podcast wearing a neck brace. Huge opportunity, John. No. I love Bobby. I don't want to bring up the past. Still don't think he should have been fired. That's just me. Oh, Ken says, I came in late, so I'm not sure if you already touched on this, but do you think KJ would do well under Bobby's offense? I don't think KJ will stay, but you never know. Who picks Stewie with the win against Duke? Yeah, we talked a little bit about it. Again, I don't think KJ is going to be back next year. I think that they're going to move on. I think Petrino, not to say you couldn't win with KJ. I'm not saying that at all, but I just feel like Petrino, with the portal being a thing now, like he can probably find and evaluate a talented guy that he's like, I want that guy, and I know he'll do really well. I just think there's going to again, no evidence or sources, but I just feel like gut feeling there's going to be a severe overhaul of the offense, staff and personnel. I just have that feeling. So I'm excited for it, though. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. I can't wait to see all the different people coming into games. I can't wait to see this offense, rolling in and all of that. So it's going to be fun, folks. Like, just enjoy it while it's here. Enjoy it with Petrino coming back. This is big news. This is big time. And there's a lot of excitement this, like, for going through a few, like, what was it, like a week? Like, the Thanksgiving week was about as brutal of a week for Arkansas athletics as you could have. From like that Friday to that Friday. Because you had Arkansas lose to UNC Greensboro in basketball at home. You got blown out by Missouri. You went 1-2 in the Bahamas. You lost Tremont Mark. Like, everything's just like, meh. And then just in 2 days, we're going 10-2 next year. We're going back to the Final Four. We beat Duke. I love it, though. Roller coaster of emotions, man. A roller coaster of emotions. Let's see. Dylan says, better analyst, you or Trey Biddy? Listen, I love Trey. Trey's great at what he does. And I think he's a better analyst. Like, I don't even know why I'm answering this question because it's weird. But anyways, I got all the respect for Trey. I got respect for most people in our media here at Arkansas. Just like I hope they respect me. But I try to look at it as like we all have a role to play and we all handle things differently. And the way that I like handling things, and people have been criticizing me for a lot of this, like idiot, retired, fired, former radio people that are on social media and like other people too. Like, if you don't like the way I do things and if you don't like that I'm a fan, that's fine. I do not care. Like, I'm not going to change who I am. I'm a Razorback fan, just like all of you. I want this program to succeed because when Arkansas Razorback sports succeed, we as a state succeed. So it's like, that's how I look at it. I want it to succeed because, yeah, I want my team to win, but I want all of us to succeed as a state and to be able to make the best things that we can. So, yeah, I'm a fan. I'm going to be a fan. I'm never going to change that. And I'd like to think that I could be able to, bring a different perspective than what a lot of media members do. I like to have fun. And like, not to like really take this to another level, but it is funny because I got asked about this the other day. One of the things that I had always kind of prided myself in, and something that I think was always very important to me, and it's kind of something I live by in what I do, is that I think it was Colin Cowherd, who I really liked as a radio guy. One thing that he said is like, I don't have to be right. I just have to be interesting. And I think that that's something I've always taken to heart where, I'm not afraid to have an opinion. I'm not afraid to, say something's bad when it's bad or something's good when it's good, or, to take an opposite approach or anything like that. But I want to do it in an entertaining way. I want to be entertaining. I want to be interesting. I want to, have fun with it because it's about having fun. And that's why I love what I do, is because I have fun with it. And if you're not having fun in what you do, you're not going to be as good at it. So, That's just something I, again, try to pride myself in and try to take that approach. I don't want to, like, somebody call me, are you a mouthpiece for the Razorback fans? It's like, no, I don't think that. But I do believe that I can be somebody who is just like you, just like a fan, and wanting to the best to happen for all of us to do well, for all of us to succeed, and for all of us to do, the things that we need to do to be better as a state. So that's what it really is. But to answer your question, Trey Biddy's a better analyst. Because I love his walk and talks. Those are really good. Let's see. Can't play that one. Can't play that one. People are talking about bottoms up. What in the world is happening? ASAP Lowe says, thanks for doing these, Johns. I'm in Nashville and your family in Jonesboro, and I love the Hawks since I was 6. My grandfather took me to a game. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks, man. Appreciate you watching. My man says, you're more constant than Trey in your defense. I don't know what that means. Mr. Bowline says, you must be doing something right because we were all in here enjoying your show. I hope so. I hope you're not in here being miserable. If that's the case, that'd be pretty weird. You guys must be into torture if that's the case. He says, John is for the millennials, Trey is for the boomers. I don't know about that. I mean, I'm 35. It's not like I'm like a baby, even though some people think I am. Like, I had somebody think I was 27 the other day. I was like, thank you, but no. Like, it's just like, I'm 35. I'm old. I should have like a wife and children, and I don't. I got a dog named Rowdy, who I still think's trying to throw up on my rug over there. So, let's see. Aaron says, what are your thoughts on the new NIL? That's a good question. Gosh, I'll probably do this on the podcast more directly tomorrow, because I didn't get a chance to do it when they announced the new NIL Arkansas Edge, because it's just so much stuff happened with Bobby. But my thought is about the new NIL. I don't like it personally. Like if it brings in players, if it brings in talent, then great. The only thing I don't like about it, though, is that since it is a third party, things like Blue Sports or something like that, since there's a third party company that's running it, they're getting a cut of it. So essentially, it's like a collective that gets thrown in, and the athletes will get like 85% of it, but they take a 15% cut. And I don't like a third party company doing that. I think that they should have just done it through the U of A and just should have hired people in the U of A, so that way they could pay them at the U of A instead of allowing this third party to come in. That's my opinion. Because I don't like NIL. I want to see all the money go towards the athletes. I don't want to see it go to a third party group. And I mean, if it's a sponsor thing, that's one thing. But if anybody's trying to do stuff like that, if you're a company and you ever want to have a player and be an NIL, I strongly recommend just going to the athlete directly. Don't go through the collective. Go through the athlete directly. Because that way you make sure that they're getting the money in their pocket that everything was promised to them. So, yeah. Now we got people arguing about boomers and millennials. I love YouTube. Y'all are wild. Let's see. Leslie says, I hope to God you don't ever do a clothing optional beyond this point video. Okay, Leslie. Watch me do it. No, I'm not going to do that to y'all. I know my demo. It's like 91% dudes. They probably wouldn't care too much I wouldn't care too much to do that. Like, that's like one of my nightmares is to like do a podcast with like, clothing optional truly beyond this point. Imagine what that would happen. It'd go viral for all the wrong reasons. All right. Let's wrap this up here. Final one for David. How interesting will the Southwest Classic be now that Petrino's in Arkansas? Nothing. I mean, I don't think it'll matter. They got Mike Elko. I think it's a good hire, I believe, but nah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's all good. All right, I said last one. This will be the last one because I think this is a good question. Collie Hawk says, do we play LSU or Missouri at the end of the football season? It's going to be Missouri. They're going to let A&M and Texas play on Thanksgiving. They're going to have LSU and Oklahoma play on Thanksgiving. And Arkansas and Missouri are still going to play each other day after Thanksgiving. Sucks, but it is what it is. That's not changing. So Everybody, thank you so much for watching the stream. So many viewers out there. Be sure to subscribe to Locked On Razorbacks. We'll do another podcast tomorrow. Everybody did a great job for your comments for the most part. Petrino's back, baby. BMFP. Let's go. We didn't come to paint. We came to win the game. See y'all tomorrow. Appreciate y'all.